Hello and welcome to ONTV's Fantasy Football League. I'm the commish, Joe Johnson, and I'm joined by Ian Witherspoon of Team Witherspoon. Let's take a look back at Week 6 in our league, starting with the game between my Hollywood Blockbusters and Smoke on the Atwater. As you can see here, I had another poor showing with Atwater getting the win with a 114-85 score. Let's look at our studs and duds from the week. I got frustrated with Eli Manning. I put him on the Pine, and he had a pretty decent game, and I was pretty discouraged there for a little bit. But then Matt Ryan came out, and he had a pretty decent game, too. He scored 28 points for me.
I think that was a smart move.
Yeah, I think I'm going to keep Matt Ryan in, I think, as my starter for a little while. He did all right against a tough Seattle defense. The other stud, which I'm so relieved, Odell Beckham, finally had a Beckham-like game. Scored 31 points, over 200 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns. Boy, I was happy to see that against the Baltimore defense.
Unfortunately, the rest of your team didn't show up.
Yeah, look at all those single digits. After Tevin Coleman blew up last week in Denver, which you would not expect against the Denver defense, he goes up against the Seattle defense and scores 1 point.
Ouch.
After I benched him last week when he blew up, so I put him back in my starting lineup, scored 1 point. So, yeah, a lot of single digits on my side of the ball. Over on Atwater's side, Cam Newton came back out of concussion protocol, scored 33 points. That was his stud of the game. Ezekiel Elliott running away with Rookie of the Year honors, I think. Big game against Green Bay, scored 16 points. And, of course, Christian Michael in the flex position, 19 points against a soft Atlanta defense. So those are some of the studs. Let's take a look at the benches, see if benches would have made any difference. Again, Eli Manning outscored Ryan, but not by much. Look at my Cleveland players. Duke Johnson, 12 points. Terrell Pryor, 19 points, 2 touchdowns. I don't know if I would have started him, but now I got to start thinking about maybe at least putting Terrell Pryor in my starting lineup. He's been playing fairly well. But
that's a shock to me, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So those are the points on my bench. Over on the other side, Phillip Rivers scored half of what Cam Newton did. So Atwater did a nice job choosing his quarterback. Didn't leave too much on the bench. Randall Cobb with 11 points. So, yeah, he did a nice job picking his starting lineup this week.
Randall Cobb might need to stay on the bench. They look off in Green Bay.
Yeah, what is going on with the Packers, with Rodgers? Rodgers does not look like himself. What's going on over there?
I don't know. I really don't think he's got the core receivers that he's had. You look at Randall Cobb. All right, he's good, but I think he's a little undersized.
Rodgers and Nelson were connecting early on, but that seems to have trailed off a little bit.
It's hard to pinpoint it because when you look at Rodgers' throw, I still think he's got the same zip on the ball, but it's a game of inches. You know, a little ahead of people, a little behind people. Something's off.
Yeah. Let's go to the next game. Enough of that one. King Kaloje Ant, who has one of the best records in the league, went up against the Undeflated, and it was a pretty close game, a 5-point game, around 4 points. Holy moly, that's one of the closest games in our league. Andrew Luck had a decent game, 26 points against Houston. Houston is going down the dumper fairly quickly, even though they did pull off a nice win on Sunday night. But yeah, Houston's struggling to generate any offense. What else? Oh my gosh, LaShawn McCoy with Buffalo, 32 points.
3 touchdowns, I think.
Yeah, and that was against San Francisco, 140 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. You cannot get a much better performance from a running back.
I would say he's motivated to beat Chip Kelly.
Yeah?
Being that Chip Kelly traded him away from Philly to Buffalo.
Well, 3 of his 4 last games, he had 100 or more rushing yards, 2 touchdowns in week 3, and 3 touchdowns against San Francisco, and he's going to be facing a lukewarm Miami defense in week 7, so I don't know.
You know, Miami surprised when they beat Pittsburgh at home.
Oh, yeah.
So it'll be interesting.
Yep. On the other side of the ball, Tom Brady. Man, he must have enjoyed his 4-week vacation.
He's
came back producing against Cincinnati. Let's look at his stat line. 376 yards passing. This is 782 yards in 2 weeks. 6 touchdowns in 2 weeks. Get out of here. Holy moly. This
I'd say
guy,
he's motivated.
I think he's going to be in the Hall of Fame someday.
Maybe.
But we'll see.
I don't know if the credentials
He
are
still
there.
needs to prove himself. Last night, Monday Night Football, David Johnson. Didn't he have 3 touchdowns last night against
the Jets.
Jets. David Johnson had
Sammy's favorite team.
Oh, what a great performance by David Johnson. Let's
What a
look at
bad
his
game,
stat
though,
line.
last night.
111 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. Holy moly.
It's a nice pickup by Velez.
Yeah. He drafted him on draft day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A lot of single digits there. And shockingly, if we're going to look at his duds of the game, Demaryius Thomas, he had about 30 yards receiving, but he also fumbled the ball, so he broke even at 0. And when you lose by 4 points, when you get a goose egg from a guy like Demaryius Thomas, that's got to eat at you.
That's tough.
Let's see where he might have messed up on his bench. Not too much of a difference in quarterback. He had Stafford on his bench who put up 38 points, just barely outscored Brady. Jamison Crowder had a big game against Philadelphia, produced 11 points. If you replace him with Thomas, you get a win. But do you bench Thomas? I don't know. You got to start thinking about it.
Right, yeah. I mean, the quarterback situation in Denver is not what it was, you could say.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's move on to our third game. Let's see. Let's look at your game. Witherspoon
let's take a peek.
versus Reawakening.
He needs to re-examine his team name again.
Yeah, I think the Reawakening is napping right now. He did turn things around. He put together a couple of wins, but
he didn't put together many points.
This might be the largest margin of victory this season. 137 points to 79.
Quick math, that's 58.
Drew Brees, 44 points against a surprisingly soft Carolina defense. Let's look at Brees' stat line over here.
The Saints at home, you just you can book it.
465 yards passing, 4 touchdowns for 44 points.
Yeah, like Adam Sandler said in Billy Madison, man, I'm glad I called that guy because he's been a lifesaver.
Look at all these. You got 3 other players that scored in the 20s. Jonathan Stewart, back from injury.
Oh wait, I think the Reawakening dropped him. And then I went ahead and picked him up.
Well, he was hurt. You picked him up. You started him against the Saints, and he got in the end zone twice, didn't he?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. 85 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns to produce 20 points. Wow, that's impressive. Brandon Cooks, he's been very, very consistent. I think he might be looking at finishing as a top 10 receiver this year. Gronkowski's back, baby.
Yep.
Gronk, and he was fired up, man. He was getting flags for, what do you call, unsportsmanlike conduct?
Yeah, there's a little chippiness there with Vontez Burfict, and,
But,
looked a little dirty.
That was his biggest game of the season, wasn't it?
Yes.
He had a big one. Lots of receiving yards. 162 receiving yards and a touchdown.
He had over 100 the previous week, but no touchdowns.
Yeah.
So that touchdown really just helps.
With Brady back, that obviously has had an impact on his game.
I started Jeremy Maclin over Julio Jones.
Yep.
I thought Maclin would go off.
Last week when Sammy was here at the table with me, we kind of predicted that Kansas City receivers were going to have a big day against Oakland, and it just didn't happen.
Julio Jones being out in Seattle, I thought maybe Richard
Facing a
Sherman
tough
would shut him
defense,
down.
I don't know. Julio Jones is one of those guys. I wouldn't want to overanalyze the matchup. I would just throw him in there and forget about him.
He's got weeks where he scores 3, 5 points. That's tough.
But that's happening to everybody across the board.
Right.
Let's go to the other side of the board. His stud of the game, Lamar Miller, Houston, on what was it, Sunday night? Big game. What's going on? My board screen's acting weird. Lamar Miller, let's look at his stat line. 149 yards rushing and a touchdown against Indianapolis. Big game.
Yeah, that's about all I can really say with that team. That's about it there.
Let's see. I got to fix my my board here. Oh, well.
Control and the minus button.
Control minus. There we go. All right. Don't know how that happened. All right. And then, big 0 from Sammy Coates. That was one of our misfires last week when Sammy and I were making predictions. We expected a big day from Pittsburgh Steelers receivers.
Right.
They faced a soft Miami defense, and not a good day for Steelers wide receivers.
Big Ben, not a good day.
Yeah. Then they lost to the Dolphins.
Right. They've had some
Surprising.
curious losses, the Steelers have.
Yeah, they have. There's weeks they put up 3 points, and then there's a week where Roethlisberger's throwing 4 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns. So, so unpredictable over there.
Yeah.
Not much to talk about on the bench. Not a lot going on there. Julio Jones, 19 points on the bench, but luckily that didn't impact your game.
No, not at all.
Let's
I
look
could have
at
sat
the
3 players.
last game of the 4 in our league. Team Irish Brogues versus Valhalla the Thrashers. Another close one, a 7-point game. And 89-82. And my screen is acting weird again. Let's look at Dak Prescott, Dallas quarterback, having a phenomenal season. He had 247 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, having a pretty decent
At Green
season.
Bay.
At Lambeau, yeah.
On primetime.
Went in, embarrassed the Packers at Lambeau on primetime.
I have not heard the Packers faithful boo like that.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah, they
I
were
haven't
not
heard it.
happy.
No.
On the other side, not a lot of production from the Thrashers. 19 points from Matt Jones, who he picked up off the waiver wire and is producing for him. Michael
good week
Thomas,
against the Lions, I'm sure.
wide receiver over in New Orleans, 13 points. Not much there. Let's look at the bench. See if there would have been a difference. Wow, what a game Colby Fleener had. And your quarterback was throwing to Fleener. He had a receiving touchdown and a rushing touchdown for 19 points. Big game from Fleener. Biggest game of the season so far. Over on the other side of the bench, Terrence West, 23 points. Baltimore running back against the Giants. The Giants got the win, but Terrence West is looking pretty good.
I think Terrence West needs to be a starter every week.
I agree. 87 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns in that loss to the Giants. So, if we look at our standings, 2 teams are 5-1, both in the same division. All of the West came away with wins in week 6.
How the West was won.
2 teams at 5-1, 1 team at 1-5. The lowly Hollywood Blockbusters.
Well, we know the commissioner's not cheating at least.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, so we're going to take a little break, and when we come back, we're going to look ahead to Week 7 in fantasy football. We'll be right back after this. Stay tuned.
Hi, Lake Orion. Chief Jerry Nars, Lake Orion Police. Just a quick conversation with you about a ballot issue coming up in November. You're going to see on the ballot a police millage proposal, and you're going to say, well, wasn't that already on there in August? Well, it kind of was. That's for 1 year. The one you're voting on in November is for the remainder of the years. And the reason it was separated is because the township is no longer collecting the millage. Now the village is. So really, the only thing that's changed is who you pay. The amount is exactly the same as was collected 4 years ago. The millage itself is not increasing. This is not a double dip. It's the same amount, just the difference is who you pay. So I encourage you to get out and vote, and we'll see you soon.
And welcome back to the ONTV Fantasy Football League. We recapped Week 6. Now we're going to look ahead to Week 7. And the way we do that each week is we're going to take a look at the bottom fantasy defenses. Now overall, dead last in fantasy are the New Orleans Saints. They are giving up points. They're going to be playing the Kansas City Chiefs in Week 7. Next up, we have the Cleveland Browns giving up a lot of points. They're going to be taking on the Bengals. Oakland Raiders ranked 30th. They're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are struggling to put points on the board. Number 29, our Detroit Lions, taking on the Washington Redskins. And number 28, Atlanta, putting points on the board, but their defense are giving up points. They're taking on San Diego in what could be a shootout in Week 7. and the Jets are taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Now, let's break it down to skill positions here. Ranking dead last against quarterbacks, the Detroit Lions. Kirk Cousins and the Washington Redskins are coming to town. He produced 2 touchdowns against Philadelphia last week. What are you expecting from Kirk Cousins against the Lions?
Double that.
Double that?
If Case Keenum can come in and complete 20 straight passes, I don't
3
want to know what
touchdowns.
Kirk Cousins can do.
Yeah. Yeah. So if
At
you got
home.
Cousins, start him against the Lions.
You know, his family's going to be there, friends, I'm sure. You know, this is his hometown team. He's going to light it up.
I agree. Ranking 31st against quarterbacks, Cleveland Browns. They're taking on Andy Dalton of the Cincinnati Bengals. He only has 1 game this season where he's thrown 2 touchdowns. Kind of a down season for Andy Dalton. That was against the Dallas Cowboys. What do you expect Dalton to do against Cleveland?
Well, it's always an Ohio battle. You know, since he's at home,
They are.
Dalton and the Bengals have not looked good. I would expect when you take on the 0-6 rival Cleveland Browns, you're gonna have a get right week, I'd say. You
I
know?
agree. Big week for Andy Dalton and the Bengals. Carolina's on a bye. They're ranked 30th. 29th, Jets taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Flacco has 5 touchdowns this season, 0 against the Giants last week. Does he turn things around against the Jets?
Yeah, the Jets are bad.
Yeah,
And Team Irish Brogues, you need to start Terrence West.
exactly. I agree. And, what could be the game of the week, big shootout, if you like that sort of thing. Number 28th ranked Atlanta, taking on Phillip Rivers of the San Diego Chargers. They had a big win last week after having some heartbreaking losses against the Raiders in week 5. He threw 4 touchdown passes. More of the same this week
Well, for Rivers,
for Rivers.
well, see, that game's just interesting to me because I believe it's in San Diego. No, it's in Atlanta. Okay.
At Atlanta.
So you got to wonder, is Atlanta going to be a motivated team after somewhat of a controversial loss? They should have had a chance to win that game. Should have been a pass interference.
Yeah, even though a game should never come down to a pass interference call.
No, but that was a good, tight game. You know, Atlanta's good. Seahawks, I think, are still good. I don't know. That's tough for Phillip Rivers in the Dome. I'm going to go ahead and say he's not going to have a great game.
Really?
That's my opinion.
I expect a shootout. I expect multiple touchdowns from both quarterbacks. I think that's going to be a fun one to watch. And ranked 27th against quarterbacks, Oakland Raiders are taking on the Jacksonville Jags. Bortles, who is not having a good season, did not have a good game against Chicago last week. 1 touchdown, never scored more than 2 touchdowns in a game. What's going on? Jacksonville going to score some points against the Raiders?
I think the Raiders are pretty bad. They're coming to the east side of the country.
They're not running the ball very well, so they're going to have to throw it.
Right. Yep. And I think the Raiders are an interesting team overall, though, because they've come over here and they've beaten who'd they beat? They beat Tennessee, I think, earlier in the year. Not a great team. Jacksonville by no means is a great team. You know, a lot depends on the weather, the travel. I think Jacksonville will have a good game. I think Blake Bortles can throw for 3 touchdowns.
All right, that should be an interesting one, too. Let's move on to running backs. Ranked dead last against running backs, the New Orleans Saints. They're taking on Kansas City. Ware had a big game against Oakland, 131 rushing yards, 1 touchdown. Charles is back. He had a touchdown against the Raiders. You expect the Kansas City Chief running backs to have fun in this one.
Load up on the Chiefs.
Definitely.
The Saints defense is terrible.
I think Ware is the starter. I don't know if Charles is going to take that position away from him, but if you have either one of those guys, start him.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Big game this week. Ranked 31st, the Colts taking on the Tennessee Titans. DeMarco Murray scored a touchdown against Cleveland last week. More of the same?
Colts are bad. Bad. Where's that one at?
That
one's in Tennessee.
Is at Tennessee.
You know, I always, against the Colts at their place, you expect a big offensive game, indoors, yada, yada, yada. But DeMarco Murray, great back. Terrible defense in Indianapolis. So, yeah, I think,
Big game start, Murray. Ranked 30th, again, here comes our shootout. San Diego Chargers ranked 30th against the run, taking on Atlanta. The Atlanta running backs had a down game last week against Seattle, which was kind of expected. Big game from Freeman and Tevin Coleman.
At home, oh yeah.
I
Chargers, not good. Load up.
Atlanta's going to put points on the board this week.
Yep. Freeman, Coleman, start them both.
I'm putting Coleman in. I got him. Ranked 29th, San Francisco under new leadership over there with Kaepernick. They're taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Doug Martin is not expected to come back yet, even though he's getting close. So Jaquiz Rodgers gets the start. He had 101 yards, no touchdowns against Carolina last week. Would you start Jaquiz Rodgers against San Fran?
No.
No?
But if that's what you got,
Yeah.
I'd go with it. If
Yeah.
you're a
Maybe
fringe
a bye
team,
or something, you got to buy.
sure,
You got to fill in a spot.
you're a 500 team, you're looking for some spark somehow. That might be an underrated play.
Right. Pittsburgh defense ranked 28th against running backs,
You
taking
do not
on
see that.
the New England Patriots. James White had 2 receiving touchdowns against Cincinnati last week. White going to run the ball against the Steelers?
Yeah, Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going to get ugly, you think?
This is a Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, motivational tour here.
Mm-hmm.
They're just
They're making a statement.
caution to the wind, just chucking it up.
Start your Patriots.
Start your Patriots.
Ranked 27th against the run, Oakland Raiders taking on Jacksonville. We talked about how the Jacksonville running game is struggling. T.J. Yeldon has not impressed. 1 touchdown on the season so far. Boy, I don't know. I mean, again, like you said earlier, if you need to make some change, you got a bye week fill-in, you may want to consider starting him, but he has not impressed.
That's tough.
Yeah.
That's a tough start.
Yep. Let's move on to wide receivers. Ranked dead last against wide receivers, the Oakland Raiders. Again, they're taking on Jacksonville Jaguars. Allen Robinson, Allen Hearn's been a little quiet this season. Jags having trouble putting points on the board. Big game?
I'd start him. Yeah, you got a weak secondary in Oakland, so Blake Bortles got to get right at home.
They got so much talent in the wide receiver position. Man, they got to start putting some points on the board. Turn it around. Ranked 31st against wide receivers, the LA Rams. They're going to be taking on the Giants in London. So it's going to be an early morning game. Those always make me nervous because your biological clock is off. But Odell Beckham went off last week, 222 yards, 2 TDs against Baltimore. I've said this before, the Giants have so much talent at wide receiver. I just don't understand how Eli's putting up 1 or none touchdowns a week. They got to put some points up on the board, put on a show for those Londonites over there.
You saw what the Lions receivers did to the Rams. That's Golden Tate. Andre Roberts scored a touchdown.
Yeah. Marvin Jones.
I think
So,
if
yeah.
you're Odell, if you're Victor, if you're Sterling, I think you can look for a big game.
You got any of those guys, put them in. Ranked 30th against the pass, Green Bay taking on Chicago. Where is this one?
Thursday night.
Thursday
and I
night
think
football
it's,
at Lambeau Field.
At Lambeau, oh boy.
Again, national stage. I never think about this. We're 7 weeks into the season. I never thought I would say this. Alshon Jeffrey has 0 touchdowns on the season.
I'm not sure he'll score. He might score, but I think this is one of those games where the Packers are going to be quite motivated against a below-average opponent. So
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a tough sled for the Bears.
Even though the Bears did come in and surprise the Lions, but
Yeah.
Green Bay needs to make a statement here. They
Yeah.
got to prove that they're not as bad as they've been looking, and we'll see if they take it out on Chicago.
Well, they got a short week. They're going to want to shake it off.
Yeah. So if you have Alshon Jeffrey, I mean, gosh, you expect more from him. I'd be tempted to put him in the starting lineup, but in a situation like that, I would wait until he starts doing something.
Right.
So,
I'd hold on to him, but he's got to prove himself.
ranked 29th against the wide receivers, New York Jets, again taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Steve Smith did not play last week. I don't know if he's coming back to play this week. Mike Wallace is the guy over there. Start Mike Wallace?
That's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough. But the Jets are bad. The Jets are real bad.
Yeah. I in some of my leagues, maybe at least one of my leagues, I drafted Rashad Perriman, and he has not been doing much of anything. I thought this was going to be his breakout season after being hurt all last year.
Flacco's not,
Yeah.
I mean,
He's won a Super Bowl, but nobody considers him an elite quarterback.
He got the contract. He had a great playoff, to get to the Super Bowl and win it. But especially this year, it's a running game in Baltimore.
Yeah. 28th ranked New Orleans Saints taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Macklin had only 49 yards last week against Oakland when everybody expected a big game from him. 1 touchdown on the season. Kansas City has been notorious the last couple seasons of not getting touchdowns from their wide receivers. I steer clear of Kansas City wide receivers. They got Connolly, they got Kelsey. Of all those guys, Kelsey might be the only one I would consider starting. If you're forced to start a tight end, put Kelsey in. But
I've got Macklin. I think I'm going to start him.
All right. Hope for good things. And finally, 27th ranked Detroit Lions taking on the Washington Redskins. Reed did not play last week. He's hurt. I don't know if he's coming back this week.
I'm not sure either. The Lions are the absolute worst against the tight end. So if Reed's healthy, whoever's got him is going to be very eager to start him.
Keep an eye on Reed. Other than that, Deshaun Jackson, Pierre Garçon, those 2 guys have combined for 2 touchdowns on the season. It's brutal.
This seems like a type of a game where I can see either one of those guys going off.
Yeah.
The Lions just are not. They just give up a lot of chunks. They give up big plays.
They're at
give
Ford
up the
Field.
touchdown.
Weather's not a factor.
No.
We'll see. We'll see what Cousins does against
Motivated
the Lions.
quarterback. I'd feel comfortable starting either one of those guys.
We have just a few minutes left. Let's go to the scoreboard and take a look at Week 7. I'm going to be taking on Team Irish Brogues, 1-5 team versus 3-3. The line, I am giving 30 points to Team Irish Brogue. That is shocking to me. Maybe I'll get my second win of the season. Wow. Unless he has some buys or something in there. Let's take a look at the preview for that particular game. I don't know if he's filled in all his roster spots. Oh, yeah, he's got 2 buys in there. Kevin, you better get in there and fill in those empty roster spots. Oh, yeah, this quarterback has a buy, too. No wonder I'm giving 30 points on that. He's
Why are you telling him this?
Fix that.
You got to keep that quiet. You're 1-5, man. You need a victory.
I don't like winning that way.
Hey, you need to win. That's all that matters.
Let's take a look at your game. You're going to be taking on the Thrashers.
The Ians.
You should be able to smack him around, don't you think?
Well,
the line is close. Look at the line.
Yeah, I got 2 buys in there right now.
Yeah. Your kicker.
Ian's got a good team. You look at Aaron Rodgers, he can
Rodgers
go off.
Yeah.
Matt Jones went off last week. You get the Jordy Nelson connection, Michael Thomas. Fitzgerald can always go off. So there's no team to sleep on, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's true. So get those bye-week slots filled. Let's go on to, let's look at is the Reawakening going to reawaken this weekend?
I really hope they beat King Kaloje.
Or is he going to change his name again? This is going to be interesting.
It's the only time I'm rooting for Sammy.
Spread's pretty close. Ants giving 6 points. It looks like they filled in any bye week. So we got Carr against Jacksonville at quarterback. Andrew Luck versus Tennessee. Looks like Ant has the advantage in some of those positions.
I cannot see Sammy winning. His team sucks. It's just a bad team. Lamar Miller, come on. Jordan Howard is your second running back? What is
Jordan Howard
this?
of Chicago. And let's look at the final game, Undeflated versus Atwater. There's a bye on the Undeflated team that needs to be filled in. Olsen's off, but Brady against Pittsburgh, Rivers against Atlanta. That's that shootout we were talking about. Close game. Looks like Undeflated has advantages in the majority of those.
Undeflated's going to roll them.
So,
Matt Forte and Frank Gore, come on. What year is this?
We'll see.
Come on, John.
All right. So with that, we're going to wrap up this week's edition of ONTV Fantasy Football League. Good luck in Week 7. We will see you 1 week from today, live right here on ONTV. Good luck. We'll see you next time.